from Matthew 22. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And sometimes this is a little difficult, so I want to teach you the bridge prayer. So if you're ever having difficulty with the person, you say, Dear Lord, please build a bridge of love between me and this person. May I see in them what you see in them, and may they see in me what you see in me. In Jesus' name I pray. And in closing, a campfire song from church. I'll do one line of it, and if y'all want to join me for the second line. Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love, love, love. Join in. Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love, love, love.
That is so sweet. Thank you. Amen. My gift to you was not singing into this microphone. So, okay, so I asked Cindy to come tonight. She's a neighbor and a longtime friend of mine. When President Carter passed away, I think it's probably 6 weeks ago now, Cindy had mentioned that she'd been at a Sunday school service in Plains. You want to tell more about that?
Anyway, my daughter and I road trip down to Plains, Georgia for a Bible study, and anyway, we got there, like we were one of the first ones in the parking lot, and that's how they give the tickets out. So we happened to be sitting like in the front row whenever all this went down. So he asked, is there any pastors in the congregation? And that day there happened to not be any pastors. So he says, anyone that's a youth minister? And so I raised my hand, and so anyway, he said, you're leading prayer today.
That is so cool to have a former president of the United States ask you to lead the congregation in prayer. I appreciate your coming in and doing that for us. Thank you. I'll call this meeting to order of the February 11th, 2025 Monroe City Council. And thank you, Cindy, again for coming in. Let the record reflect that all members of council are present. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve by Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Crawford. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the approval of the consent agenda. It's pretty simple. It's from December's meetings of the Downtown Development Authority, Historic Preservation Commission, and Convention and Visitors Bureau. I need a motion in a second, please. A motion by Ms. Sams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Brown. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to public presentation tonight, we brought in our Youth of the Year, Miss Eva Jernigan. Would you come forward, please? She's going to give the speech that captured the hearts and minds and trophy to make her the Youth of the Year for Walton County.
Never pass up any opportunity to share your gifts with the world. Hi, I'm Eva, and for the past 7 of my 17 years, I've spent my summers at the same place, the Walton County Boys and Girls Club. I'll be the first to admit I would have rather been anywhere else initially, but I could not be more grateful for the role that the Boys and Girls Club has played in my life. It was there that I was encouraged to learn today to lead the future. Before attending the club, my world was small. Same school, same classmates, same teammates. And while the stability of my childhood is something I appreciate much more than I can express, it led me to believe that my normal was the same as everyone else's. Of course, I didn't recognize this at 10 years old, but my parents did. And so I spent my last summer of elementary school at my local Boys and Girls Club. I begged my parents not to make me go, but my reluctance derived from fear of the unknown. I was scared to be labeled as the new girl and terrified to be overlooked because I was quiet. But when I walked in the doors of the Walton County Boys and Girls Club, I felt seen. I was greeted by the genuine smiles of staff members who were eager to get to know me, from my name to my interest. I remember weekly competitions to the pool, Six Flags, field trips, and most importantly, making friends. That summer was one of the most memorable of my childhood. The memories of that summer have kept me coming back to the Boys and Girls Club as a junior staff member to help others have the same memorable experience. But what I've received in return is so much more than I could give. As I use my time at the club as a learning experience like my parents intended, the opportunity to learn and love younger club members and form relationships with the staff provided me with the encouragement and inspiration to help others with the gifts God has given me. With the guidance of Boys and Girls Club staff, observing the educational challenges of children within the club inspired me to launch an affordable private tutoring service for our community. After several days of convincing me, my favorite staff member, Miss Kim, finally convinced me to just make a flyer and go from there. Together, we decided on the background color. We chose yellow for neutrality. She helped me pick the font size, the layout, and most importantly, a picture with a smile that was sure to seal the deal. Not expecting much, I only printed out 10 flyers and placed them on her desk with a dream. But little did I know, at that very moment, Stellar Start Tutoring was born. Since then, I've had the pleasure of helping over 75 students achieve academic skills and confidence. In the future, I plan to continue enhancing the confidence of children as a pediatric oral and maxillofacial surgeon. To do so, I will attend Spelman College in the fall on a full ride scholarship as a biochemistry major with the aspiration of attending both dental and medical school. Owning a profitable business at 17 is a monumental accomplishment, not just for myself, but for the people around me. Stellar Start Tutoring would be nothing without my mom, who schedules every session for me, my family support, and the encouragement I've received from our community. I thank my Boys and Girls Club family for welcoming me with open arms. If you take away anything from my speech today, I hope you are encouraged to start. We all have a gift, and the opportunity to share yours lies just beyond the door. Thank you.
Yeah. Lynn, Brian, staff, come on. And now it's when I ask the rest of you, what are y'all doing lately? Eva, that was beautiful. Thank you. Have a card for you?
Thank you.
Mayor Howard, if I may say something real quick. Y'all
You
know-
keep talking while she's coming up here.
You know I love to talk. One of the beautiful things about Eva being at the Boys and Girls Club is that she is graduating this year. Of course, she's on her way being valedictorian here in Walton County at Loganville. But her grandmother, which is Brian's mother, served she was the first to integrate into the public schools here in 1969, 68, 69.
Your mom was
Dorcas
Jernigan. Yeah,
she was the first to integrate into
wonderful woman.
Yes, and years later, Dorcas, she passed last year, but to see that her granddaughter is here standing as our Youth of the Year, it's a proud moment for us. So thank y'all for having her.
That's, wow. Meredith Green from the YMCA is here, and you have some big shoes to fill now, so head up this way.
Future star entrepreneur over here. I'm sure Lynn had a great hand in that as well, because he's a legend.
And I did not introduce, I'm sorry, her dad, Brian Jernigan, is one of the longtime studs of Monroe, just a great athlete, a good person, and just a great family. So, Good luck with what you're going to say.
I appreciate that. The bar is set too high for me, but congratulations on your success and future success. Hi, my name is Meredith Green. I'm the executive director for the new Walton County YMCA. I've been working for the Y for over 14 years with a focus in aquatics. I've been invited here tonight to provide you guys with an update on the new Y. However, full disclosure, I honestly believe that our illustrious mayor has invited me to speak because I'm the only other Florida Gator in the county.
Yes.
Go Gators. But now that you've given me a microphone, I'll take advantage of the opportunity to fill you in on everything that's happening with the Y. So as you're aware, this new facility has taken years and years and years, I think it's about 17 years of hard work and support by the community, the county, and the city of Monroe to come to fruition. Our facility will include so many wonderful features for the community of Walton County, from state-of-the-art fitness center to complimentary childcare and child watch to all-inclusive group fitness classes for every fitness levels, from high-intensity fitness to seniors fitness and everything in between. So last month we opened up memberships to the community. We've already signed up almost 300 households, so that equals over 600 individuals. Some of you here have already signed up, so we're very excited to see you through the front doors. Of course, though, as y'all are aware, the biggest spotlight of the facility will be the 2 indoor pools. There's a 25-yard, 8-lane competition pool that will play host to our very own USA Swimming Club program, as well as the Walton County School System swim teams. And then we also have a warm water therapy pool that will facilitate aqua aerobics classes, swim lessons, open swim for families, and we will also host eventually adaptive swim lessons, which are swim lessons for individuals that have physical limitations or setbacks like muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, for example. On top of all that, one of our biggest passions at the Y is drowning prevention. Through our Safety Around Water Drowning Prevention Program, our goal is to teach safety in aquatic settings to as many youth in the Walton County community as possible. Walton County is a very high-risk community for drowning because there are no year-round formal swim lessons available. In the United States, these are some shocking statistics, 60% of youth drowning incidents happen within 10 feet of safety. So that means the child is 10 feet away from the wall or any sort of safety device. 88% of children who drown are under some form of supervision. So that means a parent, a grandparent, a babysitter, anybody, a lifeguard that's supposed to be watching them. So think about that. Those who drown, 88% of those children who drown are with some sort of person that is within reach of them. We want to eliminate these numbers as we offer Safety Around Water to other nonprofits in the community, like the Boys and Girls Club. Already met up with them. The construction project is coming to a close as we're putting the final touches on the building. The doors are being installed in the offices, the ceiling tiles are being put into place, and the concrete floors are being polished this week. The pool area still has some work to do, like pouring the concrete pool deck, laying the pool tiles, which is happening today, and installing a state-of-the-art UV system. We're currently scheduled to open at the beginning of April, and we invite all of you guys to join. We would not be able to accomplish this project without the support of the City of Monroe and the City Council. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for all of your support, and especially John and Logan for the thankless work that you all do for the community and for the YMCA. So we can't wait to see you shake it in a Zumba class and execute your perfect 10 cannonball in one of the indoor pools. So thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. And where do we stand in fundraising right now?
We are around 17 million.
And we
need to be around 21 million. So we're getting close, but we have until February 15th deadline to get your name on the donor wall. So it's $1,000 or more donation, and you have your name permanently on the donor wall at the front door. So I'll have my name on there. So.
Excellent, and I have mine on there too. Are there any questions for Meredith? Hearing none, go Gators. Thank you.
Go Gators.
And moving to business items. Mr. Probst, City Administrator update.
I'll be very brief, just give you one thing. We've been working with MEAG Power for the last several years, actually, on finding a suitable location for a new substation. and they have just now closed on a piece of property just north of the Monroe Pavilion to put our new substation in. It'll take about 2 or 3 years to build that thing out and get it operational, but nevertheless, that's a big milestone for our electric grid. So happy to report that just happened this past week.
Any other questions for Logan? Hearing none, moving to Mr. Bailey. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you. Quick update, not a great one on the Monroe Monument sign. Weather is not cooperating for this Thursday for the install. We're maybe going to attempt for Friday, but I likely foresee it being next week sometime. But making progress, everything's looking great. Also continued our stormwater master plan program utility talks today with Keck and Wood to get that back going and finalize and build the formal utility, work on ordinance, and everything to make it comply with whatever else we've got that ties to it. So we should have that back before council, I would say sometime around mid-year for your review and discussion and whatnot as we proceed forward to develop that full-scale utility. A fun thing downtown happened yesterday. Fox 5 and Paul Milliken made a visit to the Story Shop. So that was a good visit from the news crew, which is rare, I guess, for cities sometimes. But I think he visited Coffee Camper as well, and then enjoyed and had a pretty good story, a pretty good social media post on the Story Shop. And then car show's right around the corner. Our 20th annual. Last year we had a couple over 850 cars, I believe, in town. So it happens quick in the morning when everybody starts showing up. We had, I think, 570 registered. This year we're hoping for a bigger, better show. More classes that we're going to judge. It'll be a busy day, March 15th. So I think we'll have a council meeting between here and there, and I'll update you again. But look forward to that day and hope we have great weather, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Bailey? Thank you, Chris. Before moving into department reports, under public comment, we had nobody sign up, but I do have the American Legion here, and I asked them to come and talk during public comment. So if you would like to come up, please, sir, I'd appreciate it. I'm sorry to skip over you for a minute, but we were excited about hearing Logan.
All right, well, thank y'all for having us tonight. It's a hard show to follow here. I mean, I'm just no Marine, old Air Force man here, so we're gonna do the best we can. We're post 64 here in Monroe.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of people think the American Legion left Monroe when we left Alcovia over here. But we are still going strong. We're at 218 Cherry Hill Road now. And January 10th was 100 years old. Post. So the Post has been here in Monroe for 100 years. And that's saying a lot because a lot of American Legion posts are falling, can't keep a charter. We're still working hard to keep our charter. We're hoping to work with the city, get more veterans coming into there. We'd like to get the veterans to join the Legion. Any veteran that served in any conflict can join. We have our Sons of the Legion. Anyone whose father, mother served in the military, they can join the Sons of the Legion. We have our auxiliary for any women that their fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers served in conflicts. They can join and be part of the American Legion. And in January 17th, we had the National Commander come to town, which is a big deal for us because he's our big man. He's like the president of the Legion. Don't get no higher than National Commander. And on the 17th, he came and visited Post 64. And we had the privilege of having the mayor and some of the council people come out. We really appreciate y'all coming out and showing y'all the support for the Legion.
It was an honor.
And the Monroe Police Department, RV and his people, Lieutenant Harris, I'd like to give a shout out to him. They did a great job of an escort for the National Commander through the city. He went to the cemetery and laid the wreath at the Poppy Lady. So, with that being said, we have a couple little this is certified appreciation and grateful presentation to the city of Monroe. I'm not a scholar, so y'all have to bear with me. The city of Monroe Mayor John Howard and the city council in recognition for sincere appreciation of outstanding service and addressing which combine to achievement of the American Legion program and activate dedication of God and country. So we'd like to present this to the City Council.
Thank you.
And we also have one for RV and the police department. It's basically the same thing, so I won't read it again. It's basically the same thing.
Thank you for your service.
Great. That being said, I'd just like to invite any veterans, if you know a veteran, have them come by the post. We'd like to get them signed up. We do have our fair coming again in April. The Walton County Fair will be at the fairgrounds, tentatively April 14th to the 19th. So we got that coming up.
14th through the 19th?
14th to the 19th is tentative dates. We'll get something out in writing as soon as we finalize the contract with them. But with that being said, I'd just like to thank the City Council, and the Legion's looking forward to getting back to working with the council and supporting Monroe.
We're excited you're here. Thank you for coming in. I
All right,
appreciate it.
thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Now we'll move to department reports, starting with Central Services. Mr. Croy?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing outside of the report in front of you that I'd like to add this month is that in our effort to improve the cellular service in downtown that we continue on, I did have a site meeting with AT&T with their engineers here at the Wayne Street Water Tower this week, and kind of finalize some of the details that they need to put in the lease agreement. So hopefully I will have a lease agreement before y'all looking at May to continue getting that moving. Outside of that, I'll try to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Croy. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ms. Mouth.
Yeah, you speed them up just a little bit.
Trying, doing all this a long process.
Code, Mr. Calendar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. And just to supplement the report that I provided to council this month, just want to note that the pre-application meetings, they don't stop. You know, even though you have a sewer moratorium in place, we have requests for pre-application meetings pretty much every week. And so, I mean, I have 2 scheduled for Thursday for new projects in cities that are not, in the city for properties that are not developed. So that doesn't stop. That train keeps going. And if you'll notice on that list too, there's some neat little projects too that are based on the form-based code that you recently adopted. There's some activity with Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Commission. You got one item night you'll be considering. Permit activities about average, a little bit above average right now, and that's about all I have, though. I wanted to keep it short and sweet. Anything else?
Thank you.
Answer any
Any
questions.
questions, Mr. Calendar? Thank you, Brad. Mr. Wilson, Economic Development.
Good evening. Real quick, a couple updates. The hotel RFQ is still live. Again, that's going to be going until April 3rd when it will close. We still only have one official email to this point stating that they intend to submit a proposal for that. And Chris Croy and I have met with one other party earlier this month, or last month, I apologize, to discuss that. They have not submitted anything as of yet, but we expect that they may still. We've got another fairly serious inquiry that came in last week, so still working through some of those. Facebook page up to 1,700 plus people from 1,300 plus last reports, a 31% increase on that. And then real quick, I'll jump on down to the city and downtown business activities. So business license additions, we had 13 for Monroe, and then 2 of those were in the DDA, and the number of jobs added with those were 21, 2 of those in the DDA. Notable ads there, Studio H Salon is one that's going on South Madison, and then Rustic Rack Boutique is going in at 127 North Broad. Business license deletions, we had 4. One of those is in the DDA, and that is the 127 property. And the number of jobs lost from those is 23, with a total of 3 for the DDA. And the one on Broad, the one in the DDA, was Peachy Keen. So that's being replaced by Rustic Rack here soon. So that's all I have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson? Thank you, Brian.
Have a good evening.
Ms. Thompson, Finance?
Thank you, Mayor. The finance report you have before you is a very early preliminary December end of the year, since we are calendar year. We have a lot of accruals, a lot of entries that will change those numbers, so those are not written in stone. So those final numbers will come to you over the next couple of months. With that being said, we started our audit. The auditor started their field work this week. We started electronic files 2 weeks ago. So we were working on that for the next couple of weeks, and I also sent an email out, but just wanted to announce that we did finally hire an assistant finance director. Her name is Rose. She will start this Thursday. I am very excited about having her come on board. She has about 20-plus years of experience that I am eager to get involved, and she may even teach me a thing or two. So it's always nice to have a fresh set of eyes looking at things and seeing if we can do things a little bit differently that are more efficient. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Are there any questions, Ms. Thompson? Happy birthday, Beth. Chief Dykes, fire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have before you the December packet, and unless there are any questions, the only thing I will add is that we finished up the year 150 calls over our year from 2023, which has pretty much been the trend that we've seen the past year. More people, more incidents, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I appreciate all that y'all do. Are there any questions or comments for Chief Dykes? Thank you, Andrew. Chief Watts.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to kind of recap on our 2024 year end. And I know we get a lot of complaints of downtown issues and stuff, and you know we implemented that traffic unit, so I wanted to give you some numbers from them. They ended up conducting 796 traffic stops downtown, issued 556 warnings, and only issued 75 citations. And already this year, if you hadn't seen already, we're utilizing those motor units, so they're working downtown every day. They're already up to over 100-something stops already this year, so be cautious when you ride downtown with your phone in your hand, or if you want to turn your music up loud, or if you have the loud exhaust, those guys are out there and they're working. So our officers also recovered a total of 89 guns off the streets here in Monroe, and we ended the year with 27,515 calls. And I think I reported this last month, but also 1,226 arrests. And out of that, we only had 58 use of force incidents. Out of all those interactions, only 58 use of force incidents, which only represented 4.7% of those arrests, which shows that we're very much in compliance with our policy and our training. So outside of that, I'll be happy to answer any questions if you should have any.
Are there any questions for the chief? Thank you, RV. Danny Smith, Solid Waste.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to highlight the 2024 tonnage reports, a couple of them. We only reduced our waste. We trended the same we did last year, 10%. For the city of Monroe, we collected over 14,000 tons of waste at $830,796. And mattress pickup for 2024, we picked up 1,354. Take any questions that you might have.
Picked up 1,000 mattresses?
For 2024, 1,354 to be exact.
Paid. You didn't charge all 1,000.
No, we didn't. We only charged 741.
Well, you have to be able to find who to charge.
So we just still trying to nail that down.
Are there any questions?
Are they bringing them in from out of town?
Possible.
People get new mattresses every year.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. There's a lot of rentals.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. If you ever find an extra mattress over at John Lucas's house, may or may not be mine.
Well, I also, and just this past week, we picked up a lot of illegal dump sites around dumpsters and stuff that's starting to show up a lot too. So that's starting to pick up.
Well, I know you have a tough job, and I admire your guys. They do a heck of a job, so thank you. Mr. Still.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report you have in front of you, I wanted to highlight one specific area. Over 46,000 pounds of debris removed from storm drains throughout the year, 23 tons. And if you just think about it, that's just the stuff off the top of the storm drain. That is an insane amount of tonnage or the number of grates that's within the city. So unless you have some questions about that, the only other thing we got current is we're trying to play catch up from the last freeze. It busted a lot of the roads up, a lot of potholes popping up every day, and we're doing our best to, if we see them, we find out about them, we're getting them within 24 hours.
And basically, if somebody sees a pothole, call customer service, and we fix those almost immediately, right, within 24
Yes,
hours.
we do our best to get it within 24 hours.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Still? Thank you, Jeremiah. Moving to Mr. McGuire, Telecom.
Mayor. Fiber rolls on, telecom rolls on. We're still in the process of doing all of our conversions and swaps. We're currently at about 64% fiber and 36% cable modems. We're fixing to drop below the 2,000 mark for cable modem customers, which is a great milestone. Ironically, when I pulled my report, it came up at 2001. I can't catch a break there when I do my reports, but we are currently under 2,000 as of now, but not on the report. We just began our first installs in the Jacks Creek apartment complex. We've got about 3 subdivisions that either have infrastructure going in or the infrastructure process is fixing to start. Vine Street, Cedar Ridge, and I believe one on Snow's Mill that we're working out there. And the only other thing I'd like to add is I just want to take my hats off to the engineering team. David Garcia and his guys, you know, you never really see them. They're kind of in the dark, down in the dungeon most of the time, but they identified 2 major problems last week that cropped up unexpectedly, and literally within 24 hours, one of which required them to stay to 3 a.m. one night, got them licked and resolved, and just very creative outside-the-box thinking. And I just want to take my hats off to those guys and say, you know, they may not be seen, but we know they're down there working, and they're working hard. So outside of that, if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Are there any questions for Mr. McGuire? You said we're at 64% fiber and 36 cable?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. Moving to Mr. Middlebrooks, water, sewer, gas, and electric.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be short as well, especially since the remaining bond projects are, we've held the pre-construction meetings, but the start dates are in March and April. So I'll update those starting next month. I do want to give one shout out. Adam Gordon's here tonight. If he'll stand up. Adam went to Perry last week to compete in the excavator rodeo at the American Public Works Association and showed out. He won the state competition and will be going to Chicago in August, all expense paid from the Georgia chapter of the Public Works Association. So hopefully he can bring that win back to Monroe and Georgia.
So this was an excavator, what?
It's basically it's like a small course set up for operators to show their skill. It's timed. He did was it 1 minute 18 seconds? In fact, I think when you was like the 4th or 5th one that day. Nobody ever. I mean, he blew it out of the water. So
that's awesome, Adam.
He was the guy that beat from the beginning.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Are there any questions for Mr. Middlebrooks? Thank you, Rodney. I'm going to come right back to you with a couple of department requests. Railroad gas main replacement.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Many of you probably seen the Facebook post on gas leaks on Row Road. So we have a 4-inch steel gas main there that we used to feed gas to Social Circle along 138. It's been years ago. That line's been cut loose, and we have a bond with Transco to protect the steel main. That bond basically provides electric current to keep from eating the steel main up. Recently, you've seen Transco in town. They've been replacing a lot of their major lines. They have raised the electric current to their pipes, and in return have burn hours up. It has completely eat up. I think we fixed 15, 16 leaks on that line in the last 2 months while this went out to bid. So the low bid was $220,000 from Southern Pipeline. I'm trying to get the exact.
$220,105.
There you
go. $220,105?
Yes. That was the low bid. They are actually the same contractor that just finished up the Walton County Jail line.
Okay. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Have them make a motion, not to exceed 225.
Not to exceed 225 with a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Dickinson. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes unanimously. Moving to the Georgia Grid Resilience Program, notice of intent to award, Mr. Middlebrooks.
Yes, we received notice from GFA last week that they have intent to award our application for the electric grant. This was a grant that we first put in with MEAG as a joint venture, and we wasn't picked. So the Department of Energy ended up giving the money to GFA, for GFA to disperse. So we reapplied our 5-year plan, and we are being awarded year 1, 2, and 3. So it's a 49% match, so the city would need to commit to the $901,853.13. That's what I'm seeking approval for.
And I'm sorry, say that again, please, Rodney. 900, how many?
$901,853.13.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion too, and want to thank Rodney for all the work that they did on that.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Thank you. Moving to new business, the de-annexation of Highway 78 at Alcovey River. Logan?
I'll turn that one over to Mr. Calendar to run through, if that's okay.
All right, yeah, no problem. So this is a request for a de-annexation. This is out on Highway 78, north of Highway 78. It's for a 141-acre parcel. The property is currently zoned PCD. It is undeveloped. There are no utilities extended to the property itself serving the property. It was annexed into the city back in May of 2006, and it was zoned to PCD. And if you'll recall, last year, the city council considered a de-annexation for part of this property that was connected to it south of 78. There was a little 9-acre tract there. The city council did de-annex that property. So before you tonight is the de-annexation request for this property. Just to give you an idea where it is in the city, it's the far westernmost property in the city there on Highway 78. The Walton County Board of Commissioners did consider the consent to de-annex this property from the city. That was approved by the Walton County Board of Commissioners on November 5th last year. And the Planning Commission has taken a look at this request, made a recommendation to City Council to approve the de-annexation request, that it be granted as requested without any conditions or stipulations. That's all that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Calendar. Are there any questions for Brad? Hearing none, I'll open this portion of the meeting for the purpose of public input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the de-annexation? Is there anyone here who'd like to speak against the de-annexation? Hearing none, we'll be back to revisit that in just actually right now, under new business, de-annexation of Highway 78, Alcovey River. This is simply for council comment, questions, or motions only.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Gregory. Is there a second? Second. A second by Ms. Malcolm. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. De-annexed. Thank you. Moving to the first reading of the preliminary plat moratorium extension. Mr. Rosenthal?
I'll turn this over to Logan if he wants to give any input and comment on it, and then first reading, if y'all want it.
Maybe waived, but Logan, you want to talk about it?
I mean, I can if you want me to. I just.
In brief, as you know, we're working on the wastewater treatment plant design and engineering. We've done the rehab work. Now we're pivoting into an expansion. And without an expansion on the horizon, it's going to grind everything to a halt in the city. But in the meantime, we're trying to march forward, do as do the small infill projects, and that's what is still allowed under this ordinance of moratorium. But it does, in brief, let me just read it so you have it before you. This is an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Monroe, Georgia, to extend the temporary moratorium on the acceptance of applications for preliminary plat approvals for residential developments outside of the city core and the acceptance of site development plans for multifamily and townhome projects, okay? So we're extending this another 6 months in order to continue the allowable design and engineering work. And so, you know, state law changed, I think, last year, maybe the year before, where it places a 6-month max cap on being able to do these moratoriums, and that's what we're abiding by here and just re-upping this moratorium.
Thank you, Mr. Probst. Are there any questions for Logan? Would anyone like to hear the ordinance read, or shall we waive that?
Yeah, waive it.
Waiving it is, by general consensus. Moving to the ordinance amendment legislation administration, Logan.
Yeah, you want to get to it?
I can take that one if you want me to. Yeah, I'll take that.
Whoever.
Mayor, you've got before you two first readings tonight. The first is on Chapter 2 of Administration, and the second is a charter change to Section 2.12, which we'll get to in just a minute, but these are in conjunction with one another. Basically, this is to clean up your ordinances and your charter to comport to not only some ordinances that we made a couple of years ago, which is the waiving of the reading. It's a little bit reverse to that. It's the reading is not necessary unless one of you says you want the entirety of the ordinance read. It also provides more flexibility in that there was some conflict between some language in your charter and in Chapter 2 of your ordinances as it related to whether or not ordinances or resolutions needed to be passed, and also as to whether or not there needed to be second reading. So what this does is this changes Chapter 2 and cleans it up to comport with what y'all have done in the past as it relates to the waiving of the actual reading, and it also then allows you that if you need to, without it being just an emergency situation, to have an ordinance or a resolution adopted without a first and second reading unless otherwise required by law. So both item C, the Chapter 2 amendments, and the charter amendment are in conjunction with one another, basically to clean up the way that you guys pass local law. It cleans up the issue of the difference between an ordinance and a resolution, and it cleans up the reading of them, and it allows you to pass them without a second reading. And that's just to clean up some issues that we've had over the last couple of years. Be happy to answer any questions you may have on it.
So are there any questions for Mr. Rosenthal?
I actually have a question. So it's my understanding that an ordinance is something that we enforce by law, and a resolution has to do with an individual focused
No.
topic.
And that's some of the disconnect and some of the confusion. And actually, I don't want to get into any of the details, but it was also some issues raised in some litigation. But at the end of the day, this makes it explicitly clear that regardless of the nomenclature, an act of this council has the rule and effect, has the effect of law. Okay, whether we call it an ordinance or whether we call it a resolution, it is an act of this legislative body creating law at this local level. And so there was some confusion on that. There's some case law out there. And so this makes it explicitly clear, which it does in other jurisdictions as well, that y'all can affect laws or pass laws, whether they be by ordinance or resolution. And when you look at your charter as well as your code of ordinances, it envisions you passing law by both ordinance and resolution. It specifically does because it makes the city clerk, it requires the city clerk to keep permanent record of both the ordinances passed and the resolutions passed. So there was some confusion in that and some essentially technicalities issues, and this cleans it up and it makes it explicitly clear. When y'all want to pass a law, whether you call it an ordinance or a resolution, it has the force and effect of law of this governing body.
Are there any other questions? General consensus, we want to waive the first reading About having to waive the first readings, right?
No, we don't, I don't want you waiving any I don't want you waiving second reading on any of these that you have before you here tonight, B, C, D, E, or F. That is different than the reading of the ordinance. That's why we're cleaning all this up. So it's not a waiving of the reading of the actual words. The ordinance is very clear. Instead, the ordinance doesn't have to be physically read unless one of you asks for it to, and then it shall be physically read.
Okay. Thank you. So moving to item E, first reading alcohol excise tax ordinance. So was this from one moment ago forward that we do first reading, second reading, or is it starting next month?
I'm sorry, no. Yeah, we're going to have second reading on all these next month, so they're not passing until next month. That's correct. So you've just conducted your first reading on the Chapter 2 legislation administration, and then we've conducted the first reading on the City of Monroe charter change to Section 212, and now you're on to
Alcohol excise.
item E, alcohol excise tax ordinance. And I'll be happy to take that one too, Logan, and you yell unless you need to say otherwise.
Proceed.
This is a cleanup also of your statute to make sure that we don't have any confusion and we don't have any other issues on excise tax. As you know, the one that y'all are more interested in is the one that's coming up next in item F. And all E is doing is getting explicitly clear with state law as to what the excise tax is. There is debate amongst city attorneys as to what it should be, and so to err on the side of caution, we have articulated the actual tax in the ordinance, and that's all the change is. So the excise tax is charged on beer, wine, and liquor package, and the excise tax is charged on liquor by the drink, and this just simply clarifies and tells you exactly what the charge is, rather than saying the maximum amount allowed by law. And that is to avoid any questions. And what it does do is if the maximum allowed by law changes in the future, then you would have to come back and change this ordinance to be able to get that larger amount. But our review of the ordinances is that the excise tax ordinances at the state level have not been changed in the last 20 years or so. So I don't see that happening on the regular.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal.
Be happy to answer any questions you have, but this will be your first reading of the alcohol excise tax ordinance. It'll be back before you next month for second reading and adoption, should you so desire.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Rosenthal? Let's move forward to the first reading of the retail package sales ordinance, please.
All right, and I'll start with this one, but we'll gladly take the tag team from Mr. Probst to jump in.
And I'll go ahead and say I will want this one read.
All right. Well, then just everybody get some popcorn and we will.
Sorry, there are going to be some points that I know that people are going to want to know, so.
Well, let me give you what the points are, and I'll be happy to go into it. So as you know, your referendum went before the voters back in November, and that referendum answered in the affirmative to allow for package sales of distilled spirits. In order to do that, we have to pass an ordinance. That's what you have before you. That ordinance essentially changes one small section in the general section of alcohol, which is section 611, which enumerates the fee, the annual alcohol license fee for liquor by package, and which is $5,000 per year. Then it provides for you all of Article 4, which are the regulations for package stores here in the city limits of the city of Monroe. I'll give you the overview, and we'll go through section by section, and then we can answer any questions. Got to have a license in order to sell package liquor. There are limited classifications whereby the package stores can be located. They must be located in a B3 zoning district, a PCD zoning district, or a CD4 zoning district, per your official zoning ordinance of December 10th, 2024, and the zoning map. In addition to that, and just by the way, this ordinance was drafted after significant input from staff working on lots of things, including city planning. And so C and D relate to very much the city planning element of where to place these package stores. Subsection C of 6136 limits the locations to certain streets within the city limits of City Monroe, which are primarily what I call the larger roads in Monroe. And you can see those laid out: East Spring Street, West Spring Street, Highway 138, MLK Boulevard, Charlotte Rowell, North Broad Street, South Broad Street, Pavilion Parkway. Additionally, for the busier of those streets, subsection D requires signalized access, meaning if it's a real busy part of the road, then it can't be on a parcel that doesn't have a light either in front of it or accessing it. Section 136 is basically standard administrative costs and how they file their application. Then Section 138 gets into the specifics of the types of buildings that will be reviewed and approved for a package store. I'll give you the highlights. The applicants have to provide full plans on what they look like ahead of time. They have to be properly lit. The building must contain a minimum of 10,000 square feet heated and conditioned space. The building exterior must be finished in brick and glass only with the incidental metal trim. Ingress and egress from basically a door that faces on the public street or public pedestrian area. Either proof of ownership or leasing must be shown by the applicant. A mandatory camera system with provisions concerning access of that camera system to law enforcement. A performance bond requirement of $5,000. Proof of insurance requirement of $2 million. Proof of inventory requirement of not less than $600,000. Proof of operational letter of credit from a federally insured financial institution of not less than $2 million. Those are some of the basic standards for the package store applicant. Then Section 6139, which is what I'm sure lots of folks want to know about, and that is the number of licenses in the city. The number of licenses in the city is established by a formula. I won't get out my algebra book because it might get a little complicated, but I'll simplify it. Right now, 2 licenses. When we go over 25,000 residents by census data, then you add a 3rd license, and then every 10,000 thereafter, the ability to add an additional license. So just to say it again, the way it's drafted, right now, 2 licenses as we sit here today in the city of Monroe. And Logan can tell you what our 2023 or 2024 census data was.
It was 24 at 16,006.
Okay, so it's 16,006 people, 2 licenses. And when it passes 25,000, you can bring online the 3rd. So that's how the formula works, 2 licenses. How are the licenses selected? That is contained in 6139 sub D. And essentially, there is an application process that starts off with advertisement from the city administrator, notifying them of the availability of the license. Then there are some timing deadlines for submitting their applications. If the city administrator determines that there are more than one qualified applicant for the number of licenses available, then the licensee will be selected by a lottery system, a random drawing. That is pretty standard on what you see happening in the world of license. It's been a long week. The giving of a license to folks has just been by lottery, administered by a third-party person. Logan would select essentially what a CPA firm, probably out of Atlanta, that has nothing to do with the city, to administer the drawing of that lottery. The additional provision that is provided in here is only 1 license to be selected at a time. So for this first go-around, there'd be 2 go-arounds, if that makes sense. Why do you ask that? Because the additional provision, and I may have skipped that actually back in 6138, is that the 2 liquors, or that no liquor store may be, package store may be located within 1 mile fly of the crow of the other. So you got to select the first one to know whether or not where the second one can go. So the section 6139 sub D goes into how the lottery application process works. Then a lottery occurs. That applicant then comes before you for the granting of the license. After that occurs, there's a 120-day cooling off period, meaning there will be no applications received, no submission, and then the second license would then be issued. It is, of course, expected that once the two first licenses are issued, it would most likely be some time before there would be another license opening to be issued. But if and when there is, the application and selection process is laid out in 6-139. And there it is, I missed it, 6-140, distance requirement, 1 mile fly the crow between the locations. This is a Monday through Saturday package sale only. Your referendum did not address Sunday sales, so these package stores are Monday to Friday only. That's section 6-141. Section 142, 143, 144 are all pretty standard form provisions about tags and quantity and sanitary conditions, no slot machines, no window obstructions. Section 147 allows for tasting events, which is essentially, as you may envision, distributors coming on site and allowing for tasting events. Those are allowed no more than one a week, and then there's rules and regulations concerning that. No consumption on premises other than approved tasting events, and then just the standard provision in Section 641 concerning the conflict between distilled spirits and beer and wine. That is a summary of your ordinance, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Mr. Probst, Mr. Kelly, and Mr. Callender, along with other staff, all spent a good bit of time with my office on getting this thing drafted for you guys. And we pulled from a lot of other jurisdictions who have already been down this road before you and have successfully passed package store ordinances that were of similar sized cities and types of cities, sort of what I'll call rural suburban cities.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Are there any questions for Paul?
I'll just note here, we've got a general map kind of highlighting in blue the streets that are described in 6136. That would be, you know, generally an allowable location according to the zoning as well. So there's a lot of if, then, but situations here. But the general rule was we were trying to keep it spread out on main corridors, but also not to infringe on specific neighborhoods, like a lot of other cities have gone down that road and you have neighborhood package stores. So we didn't want to fall into that trap.
Now, I might have missed something. Apologize if I did. This does allow the sale of distilled spirits and beer and wine in the same building, correct?
Yes, they have to buy all three package licenses, but that is correct. So your traditional beer and wine only sales, grocery stores, convenience stores and the like, but this does allow beer, wine, and distilled spirits in one building.
You know, we can do a referendum on Sunday sales probably before the store's open, right? Because it's just,
That is up to you. Y'all would need to call for the referendum election. We'd need to get it to the Board of Elections, and we'd have to look at the exact timing. But this upcoming election cycle most likely would be one of the qualifying ones.
I would probably need to let them know by June.
Mm-hmm.
so that, yeah, we need to make sure to do that, because I think, you know, folks are on the 7-day ideology at the moment. Are there any other questions for Paul or for Logan? Hearing none, we'll take that as the first reading. Paul, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Moving to district items. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm just go to the right and then to the left. Lee?
I would like to ask Rodney to mention the areas that the electric grant is going to service.
Yes, I forgot to do that. It's gonna replace 212 poles, 5.8 miles of old copper wire, 117 transformers. And it's along Alcovey Street from Broad to the golf course, South Broad Street, starting at Wayne to Vine Street, North Broad from Island to Marable, Mill Street, Breelove Drive from Alcovey to West Spring, and then up West Spring to Bankers Boulevard.
Thank you.
I think I got them all.
Ms. Crawford.
Thank you.
Mr. Boyce. Mr. Thompson.
District 7 still alive.
We love that. And then I'm gonna go to David and come back to Julie.
Nothing further.
Tyler?
Just thankful for everything everybody does.
Good answer. Ms. Brown? Ms. Sams? Couple of things that I have. I put the 2024 impact report in front of your seats before the last public hearing, but I know that we all weren't here, so wanted you to see that from our Arts Center. They just do a fantastic job for the city, and it's definitely, the arts are a cornerstone of a successful city, and we're just lucky that they're here. The other thing you probably saw in the paper yesterday, the truck route is 2025 was a contract. It will be finished in 2025. DOT still has on their site that it'll be October. I talked to E.R. Snell. He said it will be September. And if all things go right, that we could actually be looking at August. All things are not going right over the next 3 days. I think we're expecting about 6 inches of rain. So after these next 3 days, we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. But Logan and I will be going with the chairman and John Ward and Shane Short in a meeting set up by Bruce Williamson to see DOT on March 5th to push for that second part of the truck route as well. So that is a $66 million project. We're to come to fruition right now. And we'll keep everybody in the loop, but that's what we're going for. That being said, are there any other questions for the benefit of the community? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Sams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Thank you, everybody.